Jaime Lannister had one of the worst conclusions of any character in Game of Thrones. But if you read the books, you'll know clearly he's on a different trajectory. So with the Winds of Winter on the verge of being released, what will happen to Jaime in this next installment, and how will his story truly end?
Yes, with Winds of Winter right around the corner, we better start talking about this now. And with Jaime, it's true, man. The show did him horrible. No one disagrees with that. It's like one of the only things that everybody universally agrees on. Even some people think that Bran is a good pick for king because it's like, oh yeah, he can see everything at all times, like surveillance state king. And there's probably a way that could be done in a compelling way, and I do think that came from George. But I think even if the Jaime conclusion did come from George, it's not going to be something that stays in the books. The only question is now, what really happens to Jaime? Because there's several things that could logically happen to him going forward, and I don't know. I don't know which it is. I think there's two main paths that he could take. He either goes north or he goes south. But either of those directions begins with the conclusion of what happens between him, Brienne, and Lady Stoneheart. When we last see him in Dance of Dragons, he's almost certainly being taken by Brienne to confront Lady Stoneheart.
Before we get into this, what is the possibility that he's not being taken to Lady Stoneheart and somehow Brienne escaped Lady Stoneheart's clutches and is able to lure Jaime in with the most ridiculous story of all time of, oh, the Hound has Sansa and he wants you only alone. Like, what? Me alone? Oh, yeah, he wants you oiled up and with a delicious ham, bring it out to the middle of the forest.
How long was Brienne's trip from Lady Stoneheart to Jaime, where this is the best story she could think of? Like, come on.
She's the worst. But yeah, she's bringing Jaime back to Lady Stoneheart, and the question is Lady Stoneheart's motivation. What does she want from him? She gives Brienne the choice, rope or sword. She doesn't choose at first, and then is basically forced to choose sword because otherwise, not only her, but like Podrick's gonna die there as well. So she chooses to go after Jaime. What does Lady Stoneheart want from Jaime? Does she want revenge and just want Jaime to be killed? Or is she using him as a pawn potentially for the Red Wedding 2.0, and that's her way into potentially getting into River Run? Of those two options, Gator, which one do you think is her motivations in this interaction?
Well, like you said, when she asked Brienne and she's like, hey, Brienne, I know Jaime's your boy, but guess what? You got two choices, bitch. You're either going to bring him to me so I can kill him, probably, or you're going to die right now for not obeying me. And she presumably chose to go retrieve Jaime because she's not 100% sure that, Catelyn is going to kill Jaime, Lady Stoneheart. Or maybe she does think that Catelyn's going to kill Jaime and she doesn't feel quite right about that, but she's also kind of conflicted because, Jaime did a pretty shitty thing here with the Red Wedding, being a part of the family that set it up. So in that same style, I do think that Lady Stoneheart is going to say to Jaime, you have two options here. You can either be part of the Red Wedding 2.0 to make up for your sins of the past and help us destroy the Freys, or you could just die right here. I think that's the choice that she gives him. Regardless of the outcome, I think that Brienne ends up saving Jaime. I think that Jaime either says, yeah, okay, I'll help you out with the Freys, and then ends up going back on it because, this is Jaime's the Just's beginning arc here. Mm-hmm. And then Lady Stoneheart tries to kill Jaime. Jaime's not that trained up with his left hand yet. Brienne has to save him. Or Jaime just straight up says, no, I'm not going to help you with the Frey thing because I'm not going to be a part of this Red Wedding concept again. Catelyn then tries to kill him, and Brienne saves him again. I think either way it ends up the same.
Yeah, I think Jaime says something like, count me out, buckaroo. I don't want any part of this, right?
Classic Jaime style.
Classic Jaime quote. What is the possibility that Lady Stoneheart just puts him up for the test, gets him to the point where he thinks he's going to die, and then she goes, actually, just kidding. This was a test to see if you were loyal to your oaths. And it proves that you actually are, and you're not a piece of shit to your family that you'd go after. Because the Red Wedding 2.0 is going to involve some Lannisters as well. It's not going to be 100% Freys here.
Right.
And kind of giving me the Green Knight vibes. The real Green Knight, not the movie that had so much potential that, oh my.
No bueno.
Every day I wake up and think about what if The Green Knight was a great movie. Get inches away of punching my wife. Just get
right.
Inches. Just,
inches away. Centimeters even if you guys don't live in America.
But that's not going to happen, you think? There's no possibility. She's like, this was a test all along, and you passed.
No, I think with a different character that would have been possible, but I think with her, no way. She's like this, pure rage, embodiment of revenge sort of thing.
Right.
It's, honestly, she'd be a nightmare to be around. She'd be the bottom. I think I'd rather hang out around Dany than her, 99.9% of the time. I could definitely see a situation where Lady Stoneheart is swayed or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a stereotype of a plot point that I'm not a fan of, where Jaime's on the losing end and then Jaime says something to Catelyn where snaps her back to her humanity for a second or something. I hate that. I hope it does not happen at all. But I could definitely see something like that happening. Either way, I think Jaime lives through the interaction.
I mean, something that is very constant in Jaime's story, as well as Brienne's, is this echoing to Sir Duncan the Tall, and or just Kingsguard in general. Just people, what does it mean to be a true knight in the society or in Westeros? And we get two kind of references to the Dunk and Egg story, where Jaime's at Penetree when Brienne comes and gives him this amazing story that everyone believes. And also Brienne, before this, I think at Feast, she has her shield painted to look like Sir Duncan the Tall's sigil. So we have a lot of these references here. So I think this interaction does have to come to some sort of a question of knighthood and your oaths here. And if anything, it might blow up in Brienne's face that swears to Lady Stoneheart, or more accurately, Catelyn, that she's going to save the Stark girls. And in this process of, now Lady Stoneheart is seeking revenge because Jaime kind of betrayed her in her head, Brienne needs to kill Lady Stoneheart, and by doing so, it kind of echoes or reflects the same thing that happened with Jaime and the Mad King. So now Brienne feels kind of closer to Jaime in that aspect of, I had an oath, I should have stayed true to my oath. Now I killed the person I had an oath with because they were going to hurt some person that was dear to me, that I felt was being wrongly held captive to, So I think this is kind of what you described, where Brienne needs to save Jaime. I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, for sure. That is exactly what's going to happen. And I don't think any of that, what it means to be a knight, matters at all to Lady Stoneheart. I think the only way that comes into play is if Brienne is conflicted. Like if Brienne brings Jaime here and she's considering allowing Lady Stoneheart to execute him because of the things he's done in the past. And then through, his dialogue or whatever, she finds out that he's a true knight. Whether or not she's more compelled by the oath thing, I'm just true to my oaths no matter what, or if it's he's making a decision to stand up for the greater realm. It's I'm doing what's best for the realm, which is what he did with the Mad King. You know what I mean? So it's maybe she respects that. And if that's the case, man, that could even change Brienne's point of view too, going forward, where it's maybe I'm not going to be a blind slave to my oaths. I'll join this arc. Me and Jaime could be the two Buttsketeers, you know what I'm saying? So it's
trademark.
Write it down, guys. You can't use that anymore. But yeah, so I think that's the way it goes. So after that, there's two options. He either goes north. Option number two, I'm not even. We'll hit you with it a little bit. It's more interesting, I think. So stick around for it. But the first option is basically going to be what happened in the show, but much more compelling because this is George writing it.
Well, I would even offer a third option that I don't think we talked about that is possible in this interaction, is that Jaime just dies.
That's true. It is possible, and that'd be the big Ryan Johnson ending, right? But I don't think that
I subverted your expectations. I'm slipping in my seat because I didn't lay a towel down before I climax thinking about subverting your expectations.
Yeah, the lance pierced Jaime's breastplate and exposed his giant volcano-like nipples. Thanks,
dude.
George. Dude.
Speaking of, dude, the last chapter we get of Jaime, there's a lot of nipple talk in that Bracken tent.
I know. We're on to you, George.
Every time I reread George, I think, maybe I'm giving him a hard time about this nipple stuff, and he proves me wrong every time.
Yes, he is. Dude, couldn't be a better example of a boomer. Every boomer is a tits guy. That's just the way it is, okay? He's dating himself. That's just the way it is. I don't think Jaime dies, okay? I really don't think Jaime dies. It's definitely a possibility, but yeah, Jaime does not die.
So how does he head north? What is your justification why afterwards? Because currently Jaime right now is on his Gold Hand the Just arc, where he's cleaning up the Riverlands. He's making amends. He's trying to hey, let's. He, like I just said, he was dealing with the Brackens and Blackwoods. He's just able to, figure out that situation, which is that is hard mode, if not expert mode, trying to deal with those two and trying to get them to feel like they got an even deal, or that they're satisfied with a conclusion. But what does Jaime do if he's still doing that within the Riverlands and he's moving north? How does he change his mind from, I'm going to be the just Knight of the Kingsguard or Commander of the Kingsguard to I'm going to fight White Walkers?
Yeah, I know. So he needs to get maybe a little bit more comfortable in his just mentality, and maybe the interaction with Lady Stoneheart. It could be a pretty complex situation. We don't know. With Lady Stoneheart and Brienne, that could lead him to have a big mental evolution. I don't know exactly how that could happen, but it could happen there, or it could happen along various other conquests and escapades or whatever. But the easiest way to do it, of course, would be to have him stumble upon a weirwood tree or something like that, and then have a vision. What's that?
Say the Bible from Bible Man.
Dude, he's alone. He's on his last leg in the woods. It's pouring rain, falls down. Luckily, dude, his briefcase flies over. All his papers are lost.
All my scrolls.
But the Bible, he finds it, and that changes his life. No, it's not going to happen in this, all right? But if he stumbles upon a weirwood tree, rests his glorious head upon it, and has some kind of a vision from, you know, Bloodraven, which we know, I mean, he's had some visions before, so if he has it again, like a third one that really points him north, I think he could be swayed. I don't think it would take much for Brienne to be swayed to go north either, especially if there's some kind of a Littlefinger interference potentially. I don't know why that would happen, but, you know, Littlefinger's kind of up in the air. Like, what's he even doing over there right now in the Eyrie? Like, he could definitely interfere and play a part in Jaime and Brienne going up north, and if they do go up north, does it happen before or after Jon takes Winterfell, you know?
Yeah, does it even happen before or after Aegon possibly takes King's Landing? Because I think that is going to happen as well. Aegon's going to take King's Landing. I don't know if he wants to turn back around at that point, but I think he needs to have maybe another vision after he saw this, you know, horrific, you know, creature known as Lady Stoneheart, which, you know, if I see something like that, I see this horrific person that I swore an oath to is now seeking revenge on me. And then the next thing I hear is there is a army of these coming from like the far north to the wall. Do I believe that more or less? I think I definitely believe it more, but I don't know if I want to fight it head on. If anything, I'm like, you know what, that narrow sea, I think I might just jump across the narrow sea.
Yeah, I have a craving for some salt water right now. I think that's true. It's going to take some serious convincing. It's going to take a very creative vision on Bloodraven's behalf. Let's just say that. You know what I mean?
So I think what has to happen is he, you know, sees the whole Lady Stoneheart thing, which we guarantee he's going to see that. He gets news about whatever's heading at the wall, right? Like there's a threat at the wall, you know, more news comes down like, hey, we need support up here or something. And then Brienne probably wants to go up there because I think there's a lot of factors that need to go into Jaime going up north. And I think one of them needs to be that, which I think we might have stated, that Brienne saves Jaime, because I think Brienne is more willing to head up north than Jaime is. And if Jaime feels like he owes Brienne somewhat of like a debt, he will, you know, maybe reluctantly, but will go up there with her as long as he's able to be convinced. And that just is like one other piece of the pie for him to go up there. Do you agree with that? And what other piece do you think he needs to head up north?
Well, I think like the way they did it in the show, obviously it was really horrible what they did in the show, but if you show Jaime like verifiable proof that these things are up there, right, and it's like a threat to the realm, if you catch him in this arc, at the certain progression of his character where he wants to do the right thing, generally speaking, I think that, yeah, for sure, like that would be enough. So anything that really indicates to him that there is a serious threat up in the north would be fine. Like you said, the Aegon thing down south is the only thing that could maybe kind of tip the scales a little bit. But if not for Aegon, there's really nothing going on in all of Westeros that he would feel as a priority. So yeah, I mean, if there's something going on up north, and let's say Stannis, I really want Stannis to live, and on this channel we know deep down that he does live, and we talked to George and he confirms that he lives. Yeah. Jon has Winterfell, and he's now sending word down south that this is the reality of the situation, and we have a full army up here. Even if Jaime doesn't see the proof, he's already so close, you know, and like I said, there's nothing else happening, so maybe you would just be like, hey, let's go check it out. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. The idea that Brienne is like, oh, there's Arya's up there with Ramsay. We could save her, fulfill our vows to Lady Catelyn. I mean, Jaime already knows that's not Arya, and the really person they're looking for is Sansa, who is so close to them, but they do not know what's going on. Which, I mean, that could also be a thing where, you know, maybe Jaime and Brienne are still doing Jaime's like little I'm cleaning up the Riverlands thing. Then they hear about potentially Sansa at the Vale, and they follow that lead, whether they're able to catch up with her or not, but that at least keeps them away from King's Landing. And then eventually they head up north when they hear about this horrific threat that's at the wall. I feel like there's like a million ways for him to eventually get up there. Basically, his mindset needs to go one of two ways, and this is what's going to split him going back to King's Landing or up north is, am I a protector of the realm, and I'm protected from any sort of White Walkers or any sort of threat outside of Westeros, or am I sworn to the king and I'm the King's Guard, and that's where I should be, and that's where I'm going to go? If those are the two options, he needs to be leaning towards protect the realm to head up north. And if he's leaning towards I'm the commander of the King's Guard, then he's heading back south, right?
Right. Yeah, well, 100% true. And I think he has that arc regardless of like the directions or where he is. Like we'll talk about the other option here in a minute where he does not go up north, at least not right away. And in that one, I think he has the exact same question in his mind. It's just the circumstances are different. But this is all too, by the way, assuming that he has to go up north in order to confront the White Walkers, because that situation might be the worst handled situation of anything in the Game of Thrones TV show, because it was this built up like final act villain sort of thing, and they didn't even make it the final act villain, even though like the magic stuff isn't what I'm most interested in the show. It's more of the political intrigue. It's like they still have to pay that off, and they just didn't.
Right.
So I sort of think that in a much more well concocted big brain version of the series, I don't think it's going to end in Winterfell. Like I don't think they beat him in Winterfell. I think that the White Walkers and the others will probably win in Winterfell and then push even further south, maybe even all the way to King's Landing. I think that's a potential thing before they actually end up winning. I think it's going to be a much bigger threat. And in that situation, Jaime's going to end up coming face to face with this threat no matter what, even if he just stays put in the Riverlands, if not goes back to King's Landing, So really, I guess it doesn't matter so much. I'm just trying not to put too much of my own like fan fiction into this. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's going to be a 3-phase battle, one in Winterfell, one in Riverlands, and then one in King's Landing. I think that's going to happen, but I'm not going to base my whole theory on that.
I hate going down the others or, the White Walker rabbit hole, because do we even know how to defeat them? And the one way we know from the TV show, which is not canon, it's just the, TV version of this universe. It was like the hive mind, right? It's like if you kill the top one, all the rest of them die underneath. It's so lame. I hate that version of these White Walkers, because it just makes them look like more of a sci-fi, which I know it is a mix of sci-fi. This universe has some sci-fi elements to it, but it's not. It just doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel earned that those kills. So yeah, I hate talking about White Walkers. I love the political intrigue of Westeros. That's where I'd rather stay. That's where I feel most comfortable. I think if Jaime goes up there, it fulfills parts of his visions, or whatever you want to call it, dreams, where he sees him fighting kind of like other creatures with Brienne with flaming swords. So there's a clear indication that he might be going up north. But I think we have a different idea of where he could go, and I think that's way more interesting.
And let's go into that now, because we're really only covering the Winds of Winter predictions in this video. We're not covering the entire end of his arc. Let's go to the other option of where he could go from the Lady Stoneheart, Catelyn Stark interaction. That would be back to King's Landing. And the best way, the most compelling way for that to happen would be, like you said, guess who's coming over to spank whoever's currently sitting on the throne, send their ass to jail.
Is that Aegon the Sixth music I hear?
Oh, dude. Aegon the Sixth, first of his name. Aegon the Sixth, a.k.a. Young Griff. He's coming over, dude, with John Condom, his little boy toy, and they're gonna take King's Landing easily, okay? They're going to take the Stormlands, and then they're going to take King's Landing. And I think Jaime hears about this, and even though Cersei is probably back in Casterly Rock at this point, I think Jaime is like, well, dude, my son, Tommen, I got to go back and save this kid. Like, it's just the reality. I'm doing the Jaime the Just thing, cleaning up the Riverlands, but I still have, it's my son. I have to save him. Yeah. My family still matters to me.
Well, it's his king too, right? So he has to go save his king.
Oh, yeah, of
it's
course.
His duties to the king. So he goes back there. I don't want to get too much into this, like how Aegon takes King's Landing, but it's going to be super disappointing, and I don't think this is what's going to happen. But if Aegon is able to take King's Landing so easily, and then Dany comes over with her dragons and is able to take it super easily, it just feels like, I don't know, the best way I can describe it feels like NFL Blitz when you have like fumble mode on. If anyone knows that reference, comment down below. Please let me know. I love NFL Blitz 2003. Rule, dude. But that's what it feels like, where it's like, as soon as one person touches me, I automatically fumble the ball. As soon as one other army comes here, we just lose King's Landing, right? Doesn't it feel like King's Landing is just like a basic king of the hill with no fortifications around it whatsoever?
Yeah, dude, it's like hot potato, right? Like, it's just switching regimes every 2 seconds. Nothing feels like it's impactful. No one actually feels powerful. That's a huge issue. But I do think you're right, unfortunately. But in the meantime, Young Griff is going to be down there, Aegon the Sixth, and I think Jaime goes down there, and I think that Tommen is not killed. I think if Tommen is killed, then it's going to throw a big wrench in Jaime's little arc or whatever. He might be imprisoned. I think Jaime ends up bending the knee to Aegon. I think he does. I think he swears, to this new king, to the realm or whatever. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think, if nothing else, Aegon is the grandson of the Mad King. And Jaime, obviously, he can't live this down, right? He can't live down stabbing the Mad King in the back. Yeah, even though it was a good thing to do or whatever, it's like everybody's pissed about it all the time. No one can get over it. So if he sees this guy, this literally blood descendant of the Mad King, who is being probably welcomed back with open arms by a lot of the Seven Kingdoms because, everybody's sick of the Lannister corruption and everything else, and probably the Baratheon shit before that, I think Jaime sees that as a great opportunity to, make amends for what he did in the past. Not only is he not going to kill this king, but he has the chance to kind of help shape this regime administration in a way that he thinks is best for the realm, which is his goal now,
And I think a lot of people are making comparisons between Aegon the Sixth or Phaon or Young Griff and Dany as the Aegon the Second and Rhaenyra comparison, right? Of the two, there's going to be another Dance of Dragons, they said. And if this is very similar to that, and George likes to make echoes or parallels to past things in his in the history of Westeros to the current A Song of Ice and Fire timeline, I think Jaime could somewhat play a kingmaker like role where he's kind of like Kristen Cole, where maybe he crowns Aegon as the king and it gives him more legitimacy that, oh, you mean Jaime Lannister, who has all these ties to the past regime but is able to bend the knee, and not only bend the knee but be the sworn sword to this guy. I don't know, it feels like it gives him way more legitimacy and just looks good on Aegon's claim.
Well, it completely does. And we're not saying it would be easy for him to get to that position either, because it's going to take a lot for young Griff to trust Jaime, because again, it's all he knows about this guy is that he's an integral part of the last few regimes, and he killed his grandpa, right? He's the one who effectively ended the Targaryen dynasty. So it's I don't know exactly what Jaime has to do in that initial interaction to start gaining that trust, but it'll take a while, and I do think it's possible, and it'd be just a really compelling arc for him to work his way up. And I don't think that in any situation he ends up betraying young Griff either. I know I've seen some people say that, oh, dude, it'd be so cool if Jaime was the one to kill Aegon the Sixth as well, because it's he's killing both Targaryen kings back to back. He's staying true. Because people look at the Mad King thing and they see that it's so noble and glorious, a good for the realm, a good Samaritan thing to do. And then they'll see I bet young Griff will end up doing the same thing because look how angry he is on the boat already with Tyrion playing that dragon chess game. It's I guess you're reading a little too much into it. I don't think Jaime betrays this guy at all. I think this is basically his final redemption right here, at least politically.
Yeah, and I think he has enough good advisors around him to make that decision, which Varys is going to be there, and Varys helped Jaime out. I mean, I guess Jaime took him at knife point, right, to be get my brother out of this prison right now.
Yeah.
But maybe they have some good vibes still together. Yeah, I think Jaime has another parallel to another person within the history of Westeros, the Hooded Hand. I'm not going to say his name, okay? But
don't reveal it.
Yeah, the Hooded Hand, who was just extremely loyal to all of the kings, the rulers, as he was, within King's Landing. And I think if Jaime has a very similar arc to that, is a good comparison of, hey, it doesn't matter who's sitting on the throne, that's who I'm loyal to. And it's very opposite to eventually what you get with Kristen Cole, who was way more of a political figure, person who's trying to do what he thinks is right when it comes to the conflict, versus Jaime, who's going to maybe just step out of it now. And he's I don't have any opinions on what's going on. I just serve the crown. That's all I do.
What do you think then, as far as Winds of Winter? What's the scope of Winds of Winter and Jaime's arc? How far does this progress? So if it's
I know,
because it's really hard because okay, Jaime interacts with Lady Stoneheart, and him and Brienne have this little character moment. Let's say Jaime screws around for a little bit in the Riverlands. Young Griff arrives. I think the Young Griff arriving is going to happen pretty quick, and I think word will get to Jaime pretty quick. And I think Jaime's going to react to that pretty quick and go back down there if he does. I think it's all going to happen relatively quickly. So that leaves a huge chunk of the book where he's just down there. Is the book spent with just him earning his place amongst young Griff, or do you think Dany makes it over here in that meantime?
It's hard to know what because Dany's the beginning of the book is going to be the Marine, right? All of the conflict there.
Yeah.
Man, hopefully she's over there by the end of the book. It's going to be a big book, right? But I think my dream thing for Jaime would be he becomes Commander of Kingsguard, or is held up in some position there at King's Landing as a point of legitimacy for Aegon. And then I don't know when Dany comes over, but my thought would have been Dany takes King's Landing, Jaime's held prisoner, Dany wants to kill Jaime for something, and either Tyrion lets him escape or Tyrion's able to work out a deal where Jaime can leave as long as he kills Cersei. But I'm wondering why is Cersei even a threat to Dany? But in my head, this is the natural conclusion for his story, because then he has a comparison of Tyrion's letting him escape and is helping him out, even though they had such a sour departure from one another in Storm of Swords. And then he gets the Valonqar prophecy of he gets to kill his
Cersei.
twin. And then also you have the echoing of the Eric arc of the twins.
The Cargills, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even though Cersei's not a twin or a twin knight, it's still the twins going over there. And one's trying to kill the other one, or at least attempt an assassination.
Yeah, it's close enough. And even if he doesn't do it, like that's a good echo. It's close enough. And maybe that's even how it's put in there. Like you think it's going to be an echo because the Cargills do end up killing each other. I don't think that Cersei and Jaime would kill each other, but I guess maybe they would. Like if they both died in the TV series, which was terrible, but if they literally killed each other, maybe that would be a better way to go, I guess. Like if they both have to die and there has to be something involving each other, I'd rather they kill each other, right? I'd rather end in that way than not. I could also see a situation of subversion where Jaime's in the position where he needs to be let go and Tyrion is there, right, with the Dany regime. And I'm not saying it's because Tyrion and Jaime ended on bad terms before, but maybe Tyrion just believes so strongly in the regime and Jaime is so clearly anti-Dany that Tyrion actually doesn't let Jaime go, and then Jaime ends up dying that way or something like that. I could see a subversion happening there. I don't like that, but I like your idea best of Jaime getting dispatched to Casterly Rock to take out Cersei. But I don't think we see that conclusion in Winds of Winter. No way.
Yeah, I don't know when Jaime's going to see Cersei again, because I think Cersei's being sent out of King's Landing. Jaime's very close to it's like the River Road, and then if he heads down there, then onto the King's Road, he's able to get back to King's Landing if he's heading back down south. I don't think he's intercepted or it runs into Cersei as she's being sent from King's Landing to Casterly Rock. So I don't know when he's going to meet her again, but if Cersei somehow is in a marriage proposal or it somehow marries Euron, which just reminds me of how bad end of Game of Thrones was, the Euron Cersei stuff. I hate that, but that's not a bad match in the books. It's weird, but I could see if Cersei feels like she's got something left in the tank and she wants to stir up shit, I
think that's actually okay too. And if that happens, dude, listen, that little pathetic like beachside battle we got between like Jaime Gimp Stinkhand and like pirate Austin Powers, like frat boy Euron. That was really bad, dude. But imagine like Giga Chad, Tyrannosaurus Pex, like long Ozzy Osbourne hair, the silence Euron that we have in the books versus like a more trained, like, post like a Rocky training sequence with his left hand Jaime, and now he can like use his stink hand as like some kind of a tactical weapon, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's like an Inspector Gadget sort of thing, or like Peacemaker's helmet. He has like a bunch of different gadgets on there. He can switch them on the move. I'm just saying that final battle could be a lot more interesting than they made it, and keep the characters the same. You know what I'm saying? And even if it's over Cersei, you wouldn't make it like Jaime is trying to get back to Cersei because he loves her so much. It's like, no, he's going to try to kill Cersei. And Euron, I don't know if he's trying to save Cersei or if he just like sees Jaime come over and he's just like, I don't care about my wife, but I want to play with you like a piece of meat, or something like that. It'd be cool. I could see that battle happening. I wouldn't be too upset.
Well, Jaime better hope that Euron does not have his mojo.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this and smash that like button.
Or not. We don't care.